join me. Oh, there we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our March board meeting. Before we begin, I just want to recognize Susan's family that's here, Doug and Danielle and Deborah and Larry. Welcome to our meeting tonight. And if we can do roll call, Olivia.
Mrs. Harrigan?
Here.
Ms. Anderson?
Here.
Mrs. Ward?
Here.
Dr. Watkins?
Here.
If you can all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We need to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And we are going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Spratt, I believe.
Thank you, President Berrigan. Tonight we remember our longtime governing board member, Susan Sanborn, who passed away on February 12th. Dr. Deborah Reed and her friend Larry Metzger. Susan and her husband John, who passed away just days before her, lived in Levine for over 15 years. Susan served on the Levine Governing Board during most of that time and held the positions of both board president and clerk. In fact, she was just elected in January as the clerk of our governing board. You cannot find a more devoted advocate and champion for Levine's children and our district's employees and the community as a whole. Susan was an art education major from the Bay Area, and she retired from teaching in California. She also taught in the Phoenix Elementary School District. Her passion for art led her to being involved in the Levine Art League, where she served as vice president. It brought her great joy to see Levine students discover their art skills, and the League often supported after-school art clubs and annual art shows. Outside of her civic involvement as a governing board member, Susan was also actively involved in her neighborhood HOA, the Levine Village Planning Committee, the Arizona Clay Association, and the Arizona Art Education Association. Susan and John were married for 41 years. John was her constant companion and could often be seen alongside her participating in various district events, including our governing board meetings and the winter and spring art festivals. The Sanborns leave behind 5 children, 5 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. And now I would like to call 3 staff members to honor Susan. And we're going to begin with our principal of Estrella Foothills Global Academy, Sarah Zimbrowski.
Good evening, President Berrigan, members of the board, Dr. Sprout, and the family and guests here that are here this evening for the family of Susan and John Sanborn. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to just remember a good friend. So Susan and I had the privilege to meet way back when governing board meetings were held in what was the newest school at that time in Levine, CHEATHAM Elementary's lobby. So that tells you how long ago that was. But there were 2 vacancies on the board and 3 candidates, and I didn't know either of the other candidates, and I was like, okay, let's just do this. And we had a mutual acquaintance who thought, hey, you know what, you guys are both teachers, or Susan had been a teacher, and he said, I think you guys have a lot in common. I would love to introduce you to her, and maybe you guys could be running mates. Sure. So he introduced me to John and Susan Sanborn. And what can I say, 4 hours later, and a lot of food later, I left with not only a running mate, but a very good friend. So it was just a great friendship that we had, and we were able to serve on the board together until I decided to leave that and actually go into administration. And Susan was probably my biggest supporter. She was so excited when Trailside Point then became Trailside Point Performing Arts Academy. She said, "Oh my goodness, Sarah, this is like the greatest thing ever." So I invited her to all of our performances, and she came to so many of them. And on top of all of the other things that she was doing for the kids of Levine, and just was constantly just so positive and just encouraging as we were developing that program. And then when she found out about a year ago now, or a little over a year ago, that I was going to open up the Stray Foothills Global Academy, she literally chased me down the parking lot after the governing board meeting. I mean, you guys know I usually stay around for a while, right? No, but she chased me down the parking lot. She said, Sarah, wait. I've got to talk to you. Absolutely, what's going on? She goes, I have 2 requests for you. Go ahead, Susan. I mean, you are my boss. What can I do? She said, Sarah, you're opening up a school with the global studies focus. Please hire an art teacher that remembers that and doesn't just teach students how to do these neat art projects, but truly teaches them what part of culture art plays a significant part in. She says, it is so important that students understand the concept behind the art. I said, well, Susan, I will do my best to do that. I promise you I will try. And she goes, and then one more thing, and she got in the back seat of her car and pulled out a beautiful tabletop globe. And she said, Sarah, John and I are downsizing, and with the global focus, I would love for you to display this in your office at the new school. Susan, I would be honored to display that. I said, absolutely. And I'm just very happy to report tonight and let her family know that even though Susan, due to COVID restrictions, was not able to come and actually see this in my office, I was able to fulfill both of her requests that night. So thank you very much. And my condolences to the family.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Our next speaker is art teacher from NC Cash School, Jennifer Kuster.
Good evening. I feel honored that you have chosen me to speak tonight. Susan Sanborn, she stood up for what was important. She was an advocate for the arts, both in the school district and the community, and she was a friend, and she and John made me feel like family. Rarely do public schools enjoy continuous support for the arts. Levine School District is the exception. With Susan Sanborn's influence, our students have been assured to have the arts as part of their curriculum. She wasn't just supportive at the district level. She came into classrooms. Susan and her husband came into my art club to teach ceramics. They taught the students to make piggy banks and dragons. Although they were both older, they came to school in their PT Cruiser with the Firelight paint job, with all supplies in tow. They enchanted the students, making them believe that they were artists too. More recently, just before winter break, Susan arrived at MC Cash and told Lisa she had some Christmas masks that John had made, and she wanted to bring them to my class. So she and Lisa showed up to my class, and 2 lucky students got masks. Later, Lisa told me that she also got a Christmas-themed mask. Susan insisted. The making of the masks came out of John's new passion, sewing. When he was no longer able to create ceramic art due to health reasons, he used this newfound talent not only to make masks to give away, but also to make quilts for homeless veterans. The generosity of these 2 was endless. I got to know Susan and John well through the Levine Art League. This was another venue where Susan and John were able to share their passion for art by bringing art to school and community events. Susan was generous and thoughtful. She and John had a gift of kindness that made me feel like family. I think they made countless people feel this way. Susan was always interested in the best outcome for everyone and every situation. I feel blessed to have worked with her and to have had Susan and John as friends. I will miss them both.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is our board secretary and assistant to the superintendent, Elodia Hinojos.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I met Susan when she was first elected to the governing board in January 2007. She and John had just moved to Levine after retiring from their teaching careers in California. In addition to her being a member, Susan also served as president and clerk during her time on the governing board. She also attended many Arizona School Boards Association trainings and conferences throughout her early years. Susan's favorite part of any board meeting was always a classroom spotlight. You could see the joy on her face as she watched the children engaged in a learning experience. I know she had commented recently that she couldn't wait until we had the kids back in person. Susan had a real passion for art, and as new schools were being built, she even requested that a kiln be added to the plans for all new facilities. Both she and John were founding members of the Levine Art League, and oftentimes would visit the schools to help students with their art projects. Many years ago, I remember John and Susan would travel to Colorado to participate in art festivals during the summers. They also had a booth at the Renaissance Festival here in Arizona. I remember many times driving up to their house. This was when we had paper packets instead of virtual, instead of electronic packets. And I would see John working in the garage preparing for these trips. John also traveled to Canada to work as a professional Santa many years ago. He would be gone for weeks at a time. And I remember Susan telling me once that she had a happy anniversary card in a suitcase since they would not be together. Several years ago, Susan was diagnosed with cancer and underwent chemo and radiation therapy. Even though she struggled with this cruel illness, she never felt sorry for herself and never gave up. John never left her side during this illness. That's the kind of couple they were. Both John and Susan were very unique, creative, and service-minded people, and will be greatly missed.
Before I turn it back to you, President Berrigan, I have to tell you that one of the last conversations I had with Susan Sanborn, was after the election, in which she was reelected. And those of you who know Susan real well know that while she was very artistically gifted, she wasn't really technically gifted on technology. And now is the age of Facebook pages for your reelection campaign and putting signs everywhere. And Susan put up 0 signs, and I don't think she had a Facebook page either. But the reason I'm telling you that is it shows you the presence that she had in this community. She was still elected, and the community knows Susan Sanborn and appreciated her, and that is definitely part of her legacy. So I'll turn it back over to you, President Berrigan.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sprout. I'm going to allow the board members to say anything they want to share now. We'll start with Fern.
Okay, thank you. I met Susan around 2012 when I was on the Levine Community Council, and she came in to ask about starting the Art League, and the council tried explaining to her that we didn't have any money budgeted for that, and that was our mistake. The Art League flourished without us. Her passion for art was obvious from the first meeting, and I didn't really get to know her until I was elected to the school board about 3 years ago. And sitting beside her, she became my friend. Her dry sense of humor, her laugh, her unabashed love for teaching and art and our community made her who she is. And I'm going to miss Miss Evening.
Thank you. Dr. Watkins?
I was fortunate enough to meet Susan in 2007. I opened up time for practice, and I want to say she's probably one of my first 100 patients, and she just her outlook on things was so positive. She encouraged me, being a new business. At that time, I came to Levine because I thought we were getting a freeway. And she just told me to, be involved in the community and you'll be great. When I got elected, she was one of the first people to reach out to me. And she was almost more excited than I was to be a part of this. So her and John were great patients of mine for years. I have a lot of respect and admiration for them too. The love that you saw between them and the passion they had for education in our community was really second to none. So she definitely really missed.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Sure, I'll say a few words. So I've been on the board with Susan for about 6 years, and I think that one of the things I just love the most, I think, about Susan is just her passion for art. Anytime we would walk through school sites or with the new buildings, it was, let's check out the art room, and does it have a kiln? And she just was very excited about that, and whenever I asked her questions about art, she just lit up and just had a lot to share. And so I really like that about her, and just her involvement, tutoring kids after school, and just her passion for kids learning. And yeah, just her involvement. And what my thoughts and prayers go out to you guys. This is a challenging time, but keep your head high and just live their legacy of being involved in the community. And they definitely were valued members of this community.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to Dr. Sprout and Ms. Zimbruski, and I think it's Ms. Custer or Kuster? Kuster, okay. And Elodia, thank you so much for sharing your comments tonight. I know I loved hearing that. I can only imagine how much the family enjoyed hearing those comments about their mom. It is hard to believe she's gone. I was sharing with the family earlier that my husband and my daughter would often see them in Safeway, and looking at this picture here, you just think the warm smiles that they would give to you whenever you saw them. And that's one of the things I will remember about both of them. We were lucky to have her as a board member here in Levine. I think oftentimes people wonder why somebody who doesn't have a child in the district would want to serve on the board. And what I say to that is that how incredibly important it is to have people in our community who still care about our kids and our schools and helping and supporting them. And just appreciate her being willing to do that at 80 plus years old. And any school board would be lucky to have a member that's half of what Susan was for us here in Levine. I do want to share that we are doing a scholarship for her in her name. A Levine Education Foundation scholarship will be created in Susan's name. And this year, the Levine Education Foundation High School Scholarship Program will award high school scholarships to one 8th grader from each school, and they'll be selected by the teachers of the visual and performing arts areas as the school's most deserving student. And we're happy to be able to do that. And finally, am I able to share this, Dr. Sprout, this piece as well? Okay. ASBA is the Arizona School Boards Association, and the staff here reached out to see if there was something we could do to honor her through ASBA as well. And she has been placed on their honor roll for the Arizona School Boards Association by recommendation of us as her fellow governing board members. So that's how special she was, not just to us here, but as a member of school boards across the state. So thank you. And we'll go ahead and take a break now and allow the family to exit so that you don't have to stay for the boring part of our meeting. Thanks for coming. Can we get these to them too? I'll go with you. Okay, here we go. We are on the consent agenda. Sorry about that. Approval of minutes. Actually, I should have done that before the superintendent's report. Can we approve the minutes from the last meeting, please?
Second.
The motion and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The consent agenda. Do we have a motion for that?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Motion and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. And I think we're going to pause here to recognize, do you want to do that? Do you want me to?
Sure.
You go ahead.
Go ahead, President Barry.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I think Miss Erin Levish has been approved. Is she here? Where is she? I was looking straight at you. It's hard with the masks. Congratulations. You have our full confidence because you have your superintendent's full confidence. So congratulations to you.
We skipped the superintendent.
Oh, I thought that was the superintendent. You have other things. There are other things going on. My apologies. Okay, fine. Go for it.
We got all this to go through.
Oh, good Lord. All right, you go for it.
All right,
That's good stuff too.
all right. You ready, Butch?
Sorry, I threw him off. I went all over the place. My apologies.
So on March 1st, students who selected the hybrid learning option returned to campus, that's Monday, for in-person instruction. That represents about 52% of our students. And I would like to say thank you to all of our staff for their preparation for Monday, March 1st. And after tomorrow, I hope our students, staff, and families have a wonderful and very safe spring break. And I must emphasize, let's all be safe as we go out for our 9 days away from school and come back on March 15th. The governing board and school administration have always seen our campuses as the center of the Levine community and have always believed in and welcomed community use of district property, including our playing fields, our community's playing fields, by athletic programs that occur outside of school hours. For the last year, due to the pandemic, we have been forced to balance that desire with the safety of our school campuses and the guidance we have received from public health authorities. One aspect of our mitigation strategy has been to only allow students and staff and service providers on our school campuses. In other words, we have not allowed outside organizations, visitors, or events to be held on our school campuses. The exception to this has been the David Glasser Field, which is not a school campus. We have seen a recent increase in interest from groups who wish to use our school facilities and will be considering options for expanded community use of school facilities and will be publicly announcing any changes by March 19th. We are also, as we have returned to school, closely monitoring our school and classroom-based COVID-19 metrics, which is overseen by our COVID response team, in making any decisions that we would have to make with respect to returning to virtual learning. I would like to add, you probably heard that the governor made an announcement yesterday that part of our COVID response team process is, if the need arises, to contact public health officials. But based on the executive authority or executive order, that will now be a required aspect of any decisions that we make with respect to our schools or classrooms. I also did, though, want to focus us just for a moment on our community metrics, which are trending in a very positive direction. We had a peak case of 1,106 cases per 100K on January 3rd. And 3 weeks ago, the data was down to 179. Data is not coming out today, did not come out today. We're all clicking refresh to see what our numbers were, but due to the governor's executive order, they're reorganizing the whole system, and so but it is encouraging on this slide to see our community metrics improving, and we also see on the next slide a positive trending in our percent positivity. Once again, that's 3 weeks ago, that last data point there. The numbers that we look at the most closely, I will say, though, are our cases per 100K, which are really sliding down, and that's very encouraging. So, Read Across America Day was March 2nd, and our schools have been planning several activities around the annual celebration. Schools hosted online read-alouds and encouraged book subjects related to this year's theme of Create and Celebrate a Nation of Diverse Leaders. I had a chance with my wife Melanie to read one of our favorite books that we read to our kids, which is The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. And we had a great time. We read this to the Paseo Point community, and boy, it was fun. It reminded us of being parents of young children again and getting that opportunity to read to them. I have to say, when I first saw this slide, I asked our communications department to get a better picture of me, one that is normal, and they said, this is what I normally look like. And for those of you who want to stay around after the executive session and kind of tuck yourselves in tonight, I'll read this to you as well, so I'm sure that everyone's going to want to stay. Right, administrators? Okay. CHEATHAM celebrated Black History Month by encouraging students and families to research Black Americans that have contributed to our history. Each week during the month of February, CHEATHAM students were asked to complete a short scavenger hunt researching influential Black leaders. Participants were then entered into a drawing to win a book written by a Black author. By supporting and celebrating Black authors and publishers, we can enable a more authentic storytelling that reflects Black experiences and voices. CHEATHAM appreciates all the books donated by the community and the authors themselves. And now our employees of the month. Our classified employee of the month is Erica Madrueno. And by the way, we have a lot of people watching tonight because we're going to be recognizing quite a few people. And so welcome if you are watching us on YouTube. Classified Employee of the Month, Erica Madrueno, goes above and beyond in all that she does. She is looked up to by many of her peers and is a role model for anyone wanting to be a great school secretary. She makes her extremely complex job look easy, including in high-pressure situations, and always has a smile on her face. She provides the highest level of customer service to parents and staff, and she manages her boss, Principal Zabruski, with ease. That's what she says. She cares about and advocates for anyone who crosses her desk. Classified Employee of the Month, Erica Madrueno. Let's give her a round of applause. Our Certified Employee of the Month is Desert Meadows kindergarten teacher, Jessica Russell. Mrs. Russell has stepped up into a significant leadership role this year, and it also shows in her teaching. As a kindergarten team leader, she has mentored 2 new teachers and ensured her teammates receive the support they needed. In her classroom, she has created lessons that develop the skills of the students, and they are seeing great results. She is outgoing in her lesson and provides multiple opportunities to help the students remain engaged so they can learn. Mrs. Russell is a great person to be around and encourages her colleagues, and she always sees the bright side in every situation. Certified Employee of the Month, Jessica Russell. Our next slide is for our Exceptional Service Awards that we do annually. This is the highest award that a classified staff member can receive in the district. And in order to qualify, you must have completed 3 years of employment in the district, and you must be nominated by your supervisor. The traits of an Exceptional Service Award recipient are strong attendance and dependability, that they provide the highest quality and quantity of work, that they excel at working harmoniously with others, that they are an expert in their job responsibilities, and that they creatively solve problems. Our first Exceptional Service Award recipient is Luz Chavez from CHEATHAM. She is a cafeteria manager there and has been with the district for 15 years. Ms. Chavez not only works cohesively within her food and nutrition department, but with all other departments. She collaborates directly with the front office, administration, kids club, and transportation. During the pandemic and ever-changing government requirements with child nutrition, she has adjusted her team to meet those requirements. But most importantly, her focus is always on students. Luz Chavez, Exceptional Service Award recipient from CHEATHAM Elementary. Our next recipient from Desert Meadows School is Carmen Craig, our health associate, who has been with us for 7 years. Carmen has always been an employee we can depend on since she started working in the Levine School District. She is organized and keeps accurate records for when students and our staff visit her office. It's not just the students that she takes care of, it's the staff as well. It is evident that she takes pride in her work. When she is called upon to provide information on different situations, she is able to provide specific and detailed documentation based on statements and her observations. And she was also, like all of our health associates, involved in our vaccination pod, and I got some time to spend with her, and just a thoroughly enjoyable person. And so we recognize Carmen Craig from Desert Meadows School. It's a good night for Erica Madrueno, who is also recognized not only as our Employee of the Month, but also the Exceptional Service Award winner. She's been with the district for 14 years. So I got some additional information on her. Parents often comment about how amazing our front office staff is. It is largely due to Erica and her cheerful demeanor. She received these comments when she was at Trailside, and now we are receiving the same comments at Estrella Foothills. She never turns parents away, but rather tells them she will find the answer if it's one she does not know, which is pretty rare. Let's once again recognize Erica Madrueno. Next, Joya Westwood from Levine Elementary School. She is currently a guest teacher instructional associate and has been with the district for 6 years. And I say currently, so listen why I say currently, because this is pretty exciting. Joya is very self-sufficient and is comfortable with being a problem solver and a leader among her colleagues. She always keeps the needs of the students at the forefront of all that she does. Joya started her career in Levine as a special education instructional associate before moving on to be a guest teacher instructional associate. And next year, she will be starting her teaching career, teaching first grade at Levine Elementary School. Joya Westwood. Eva Mendoza, guest teacher instructional associate at MC Cash, and she's been with us for 4 years. Everyone loves Eva, and it was evident when we gave her this award the other day. People were so happy. She has a personality that attracts people to her. She is friendly, positive, and always happy. She has an amazing amount of compassion and formed amazing relationships with our students, especially our special needs students. While some may be hesitant and sometimes fearful of working with behaviorally challenged students, Eva thrives in interacting with them and building relationships. Eva Mendoza from MC Cash School. Next, Kate Jackson, who is a guest teacher instructional associate at Paseo Point School. And I would have to say, after visiting her the other day, we would call her a learning lab wrangler. I mean, she had a lot of kids flying around, and she was managing the whole thing. So Mrs. Jackson went from Title I Instructional Associate to Guest Teacher Instructional Associate in a short amount of time. In both roles, she always gives 100%. Her flexibility makes her extremely dependable and an expert in leading others with similar roles. She has been consistent and is always willing to learn new tasks. Kate Jackson from the Sale Point School. Tori Perez, Special Education Instructional Associate at Rogers Ranch, and she's been there for 4 years. Tori is an outstanding instructional associate and has an exceptional ability to complete her professional responsibilities to the highest degree. Her perception and commitment to helping students reach their maximum potential has molded her into an invaluable member of the classroom. She understands that her position requires her to service some of our most vulnerable students. Therefore, she spends all of her energy providing the best quality of instruction and care. Servicing our self-contained students is not just a job for Tori, it is her passion. Tori Perez. Cindy McMurdo is our guest teacher instructional associate at Trailside Point School. She's been with us for 5 years. As a former teacher, her expertise with instructing students in small groups and providing interventions is exceptional. Students love working with Ms. McMurdo, and teachers shout her out regularly for her high level of support for students in the Panther print every week. Lots of mentions of Ms. McMurdo. When Ms. McMurdo does a job, she does it thoroughly and with excellence, and I would say if there is a football equivalent, she is a free safety. She's able to roam around and take care of just about anything that is needed, and a wonderful person, Cindy McMurdo. Liliana Garcia is our health associate at Vista del Sur, and she's been with the district for 20 years. Ms. Garcia is detailed and thorough with her work. She is frequently complimented by other medical professionals on her ability to support our students. She produces the highest quality of work and is incredibly hardworking. She is always willing to jump in and help out even if the tasks do not fall directly under her job responsibilities. I also had a chance to work with her on the pod, and what a fun person. And again, when she was recognized with the staff, you could just tell how much they enjoy working with her. So Liliana Garcia, our health associate at Vista del Sur. Amanda Buechner is our secretary in child nutrition, and she's been with us for 5 years. Amanda's job requires a high level of attention to detail and accuracy. She is diligent in ensuring her work is thoroughly completed. Since starting with the Child Nutrition Services Department, we have only added to her responsibilities by adding additional schools and meal programs. She has taken on each new task with a positive attitude and does an amazing job. Child Nutrition Secretary Amanda Buechner. Shelby Burks, Student Services Administrative Assistant, and she's been with us for 4 years. Shelby's creativity has been demonstrated in a multitude of ways. The most clear example of creative problem solving is her leadership in our department's move to paperless special education records. She has engineered several pathways for staff to document their work with our special education students and their parents. This has made our staff more efficient and is ultimately effective in its crucial work. Student Services Administrative Assistant Shelby Brooks. Stephanie Moreno is our Kids Club Specialist, and she's been with the district for 13 years. Stephanie started as a Kids Club counselor and worked her way up to specialist. With her help, the program started small and grew into a program the size of a small school. If I, and that being Kim Tier, had to write all the things she takes care of, it would take hours. She does everything from planning summer field trips to billing and collecting on past due accounts. She even covers when staff are out to keep Kids Club in compliance with ABHS. She is a true Kids Club MVP, and she's got the longevity there, and we really appreciate her. Stephanie Moreno, Kids Club Specialist. And last but not least, Daniel Romero from our Support Services Department. He is a lead maintenance, that's his title, lead maintenance. And he's been with the district for 8 years. Daniel being a former student at Levine in his younger years, obviously, understands the school campuses he went to, and he works hard to make sure our campuses are at a high standard today. He makes sure that our students, staff, and community have the best facilities we can provide. Excellence in customer service is defined by his willingness to go the extra mile to make everyone's life a little easier. And I will add that Daniel also completely spearheaded all of our mitigation structural efforts with respect to plexiglass and setups, and just did a great job leading that effort. Daniel Romero. And that concludes our Exceptional Service Award winners, and once again, we thank them for their excellence and service to this school community. We'll move on now to our classroom spotlight with Mr. Brett Humphrey, principal at Trailside Point School.
Good evening, President Berrigan, members of the board, Dr. Sprout, and guests. My name is Brett Humphrey, principal of Trailside Point Performing Arts Academy. This year has given us an opportunity to practice a growth mindset, think about things outside of the box, and persevere in many ways. At TSP, our goal has been to engage in professional development that can be applied to any virtual or in-person learning scenario. We've reflected on current practices related to the Learning Observation Instrument, or LOI, and discussed how to improve instruction both virtually and in person to ensure we're learning no matter what, as we like to say at Trailside. In professional developments this year, we have focused on modifying traditional in-person kegging structures for virtual learning, and we've done this with the purpose of increasing student-to-student engagement, assessing students in real time, and monitoring and adjusting instruction, and providing real-time assessment, which is crucial to feedback. These elements are effective instructional strategies that we're used to in person, but were a bit of a shift for the online format. The TSP staff, the amazing TSP staff, has adapted, taken risks, and found innovative ways to meet those strong instructional strategies. Tonight I'd like to share an example from Ms. Gonzalez, who is a third grade teacher at Trailside Point. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ana Gonzalez, and I teach third grade at Trailside Point Elementary. Teaching during a pandemic has definitely had its challenges. However, I could not have imagined myself teaching anywhere else. The Levine Elementary School District has provided teachers with so many learning opportunities, along with continuous support. Our dedicated principals and coaches have worked endlessly to spread positivity, recognize hard work, and provide us with the tools we need to succeed. As a teacher in the Levine District, we have proved that this is a place where we all learn, no matter what. Check it out.
During one of our professional developments this year, we focused on reflecting on our current practices and implementing strategies to improve instruction, both virtually and in person. By focusing on the LOI components, we learned how to modify traditional Kagan structures to fit the needs of our virtual and in-person learners. One of the modified Kagan structures that we discussed is the All Right Consensus. During the All Right Consensus, students work together to summarize their responses and create a response as a team. This allows students to interact with one another and allows the teacher to assess students in real time to monitor and adjust instruction. In the following video, you will see an example of what a modified Kagan structure looks like in a virtual classroom. During this lesson, my students were discussing a question related to their Ready Gen text, Storm in the Night. Let's take a look.
I think that Thomas enjoys grandfather's stories because in the text, he is doing the stuff that grandfathers in the story that told him. And also in the illustration, his face looks like he's interested in the story, like he likes it.
All right, now that you guys all had an opportunity to discuss your own boxes, go ahead and start coming up with a team consensus. Whoever the typer is, go ahead and start writing it inside of the box.
Another modified Kagan structure that we implemented into the virtual classroom is talking chips. In the next video, you will see how this Kagan structure ensures equal participation by giving each student an opportunity to take turns speaking while also holding students accountable for their learning.
I think Thomas admitted he was afraid because he knew if the lights rolled and he did not have Ringo and his grandpa, he knew he would be scared. Okay, so I think Thomas was able to admit that he was scared because his grandpa told him the story of when he was little and he was scared, but he was able to overcome his fears.
We also modified Kagan structures to allow for social distancing in the in-person classroom. Rally Robin is a Kagan structure that gives students the opportunity to share their thinking while allowing the teacher to assess in real time in order to measure student progress.
I added 25 and 20 up, and I got those numbers from doing 5 times 5 and 4 times 5 because I split up my 9 by doing distributive property, and I got 45.
Excellent, good job. And I see that Joshua over here did a different strategy to solve 9 times 5. Joshua, can you go ahead and explain?
So what I did for 9 times 5 is that I did 9 groups because it says 9 groups, and I skip counted by 5 9 times because there's 9 groups, and this is how it went. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and my answer is 45.
I like using Kagan structures because I get to write my own opinion and I get to know what my team did while they were doing their Kagan structures. My favorite Kagan structure is the all-rate Kagan structures during math class because I get to see what strategies my team used and I get to learn how they think.
At Trailside Point, we ensure new and accelerated learning every day using modified Kagan structures to keep moving forward. We will continue to maintain a productive struggle through our instructional approach and critical thinking. We know there's no time to waste on any lesson, on any day. We know remediation is not slower, it's more, because here at Trailside Point, we are
learning no matter what.
Mr. Humphrey, let's give them a round of applause. Retirement news. After 25 years of devoted service to the Levine community, Assistant to the Superintendent, Elodia Hinojos, will be retiring on March 18, 2021, and she can tell you how many work days that is, how many hours that is. She is moving along with her husband Raul, if he is well behaved, to Texas to be closer to family and take on new adventures. One of which may include one of her outstanding non-work skills of baking and maybe even starting a food truck, which we will all make a road trip out there to do that. Elodia was hired in 1995, and at that time the district consisted of only Levine Elementary and MC Cash. And Elodia was one of the 2 secretaries at MC Cash. In 2000, she applied for and received the position of governing board secretary / district receptionist. This position and title evolved to meet the growth and needs of the district and to her position as the current assistant to the superintendent. She has worked with 5 superintendents and 3 interim superintendents and many governing board members. Elodia is a consummate professional. She's kind, she provides wise counsel in challenging situations, and has been fully devoted to the children, staff, and community of the district. We will greatly miss you, Elodia, and we wish you all the best. Tonight is her last night of the stressful who motioned and who seconded exercise that she has to go through every month. So please go easy on her. Once again, thank you, Elodia, for all your service to this community. And that concludes our superintendent's report.
All right, well, that was a good one. I'm glad we didn't skip it. We're going to miss you, Elodia. Before you go, though, will you remind me, did we do the consent agenda? We did, okay. Keeping you on your toes. Why is that not? Where do you see the academics?
After the superintendent's report, there's an academic services.
I don't see that on the agenda.
It's off to the side.
It's not on mine. It's not on mine.
Maybe you don't have that.
You want mine? Oh,
You do have it.
no, I'm in the February break.
We're good.
I'll get it together tonight, guys, I promise.
I'm here for you.
Here we go.
I was looking for my glasses.
Oh, no, I'm not in the February board meeting. Why is it not in mine? That was the February consent agenda. Take a look at mine. Am I blind?
We're on D, information and
This is
proposal.
February.
Yeah, but that's but I'm in March. I clicked March, watch. When I made it bigger. See? I'm in.
Okay, now, you're good now.
Miss Davis, just save me.
Good evening, President Marion, members of the board, Dr. Sprout, and our guests. I know we've already had a lot of information and great celebrations, but I do have a few updates tonight just to share with you. Academic Services has a lot going on, but tonight I am going to just update you on 3 different things and see if you have any questions or need additional information. So I'm going to give you a little information on our Levine Online Academy and where we're at with that. Some updates from the work of the Learning Recovery Committee, as well as state assessments, which are coming out here next month. So first, for the Levine Online Academy, we have shared this before, and there's a lot of information on our website about our new school. Number 10 will be the Levine Online Academy, opening in 21-22. It is all virtual. One of the things that we learned this year in this pandemic and distance learning is that for some families, online is a new option that they want. So we do fully expect and anticipate and hope that in August we're open everywhere and all kids are in school in the buildings. But for a select group of students, if it is the right fit, we did want to offer the opportunity for an online school. We are expecting it to be small. We just started registration and it's trickling in at the moment, but I did want to share some information about it. So our Levine Online Academy is going to serve students in grades 3 through 8. Again, we're starting small, so we're in the process of hiring teachers for that. 6 teachers, 1 in each grade level. Those teachers will be housed at Estrella Foothills. The students will be housed at their homes, as it's an online school, but the teachers needed a place to be housed. And so at Estrella Foothills, they will have a space to work and serve their students through there. So Ms. Simbrowski will help supervise those teachers. It is a full year online school, so we are trying to make sure that our community understands that it's different than the distance learning that we're doing this year, that this is if you truly want online school as your full-time school, not this quarter I want online, next quarter I want in person. So that's an important distinction to make. We are using both synchronous and asynchronous learning models. That means that sometimes the student has a live teacher doing lessons with them, and sometimes the student has tasks and activities to do independently. We're sort of going to follow a 3 learning module. So students will have things that they need to do before the lesson to prepare to learn. They may be asked to do a pretest, they may be asked to watch a video So knowing that, it's important for parents to understand that if you're going to enroll your student in an online school, that you have to be committed. The teacher's not in your house, and so we need to make sure that our parents understand the partnership that it takes to successfully do that. So as we are getting ready for the year, we are creating a parent orientation, and so for those families who are seeking this option, we will have that be a piece that we need to go through. We did just open enrollment, so it's just starting. We do have some students already registered, and the advertisements are going out as we speak. So we'll give you some updates and see how that grows. Mr. Pino, who has become our movie producer, did create a little promotional video. It's just 1 minute long, so I did want to share that. We've already put that out and got some great feedback. He makes it look so easy, but I know he spends hours producing a 1 minute video, but thank you. So again, we'll share more as we get more information. We're just kind of getting the ball rolling with enrollment. And again, our hope and expectation is that the majority of our students are in our classrooms in person learning next year. But for those that are seeking an alternative, we will have this option. My second topic, I can pause for questions if you want on that, or I can just keep rolling.
Any questions? Keep going.
All right. Maybe it's up to 6:30. The Learning Recovery Committee has also been busy at work. So as we know, although we're very proud of the work our teachers have done this year in our response to the pandemic and trying to balance distance learning, we do know that students have had some lost learning. I mean, there's no substitute for an in-person teacher 7 hours a day. So our Learning Recovery Committee is made up of 51 teachers, instructional coaches, administrators, and really our task is to really generate ideas and recommendations of things we can do to support accelerating our students' learning. I choose the word accelerate purposefully. We know there's a lot of talk about learning loss and remediation, but we're working hard to make sure that our staff understands that our students' learning loss is not because they can't learn or they have struggles. They are very capable, very smart, and it's our job to just accelerate that. So we know there's some opportunities they missed this year, and as we move into the rest of this year and next year, we just need to do some extra things to accelerate that. So one of our phrases that we've been throwing around is that remediation isn't slower, it's more. And I don't know if you caught it, but that teacher that was in the classroom spotlight shared that at the end too. So our focus is to really just give kids an accelerated pace and more information and cram everything into their little heads as we continue through this year and into next year. So one of the great opportunities that we do have is funding. So the government has come up with trillions of dollars that I didn't know we had, but they're funneling quite a bit of it to education. And so the great thing there is that there is funding to do some additional things from what we've been able to do before. And so part of the Learning Recovery Committee is looking at the funding that we have and thinking about the best ways to spend it to support accelerating our students' learning. So we know that this isn't money that we're going to get year after year, so we do need to be thoughtful about how we spend it. But we have lots of ideas. I told Dr. Sprout, I can spend any amount. Just tell me how much I have. So after brainstorming, we've met with our instructional leadership team as well as the Learning Recovery Committee, and there's so many ideas and things that we can do to support our students. So we've trying to organize it and kind of put it into some categories. So the first category is just daily instruction. Knowing that we do have our kids for 7 not just our core academic time, but how we do interventions during the school day. Hopefully, one day we'll be able to move kids around based on their needs and do some intervention targeted groups. We're also looking at extended learning. So in addition to the school day, there's opportunities for tutoring after school or before school and summer school. We're looking at our curriculum. So we're fortunate that we have great curriculum and it has intervention resources built into it. But we're just taking a deeper dive into those resources and seeing if that's sufficient or if we need to look at some additional things. We're reviewing our assessments, not just our NWA, our benchmark assessments, but just the assessments that are in our curriculum programs, as well as just working with teachers on real-time assessment. Again, it was really nice for me to hear the Trailside Spotlight highlight things that we've been talking about. It's like, oh, that's so good. Real-time assessment. So we are looking, really working on, that's where the rubber meets the road, is the daily teaching of the teacher and the students and checking for understanding and show me on your whiteboard, did you get it or did you not? Do I need to reteach it or can we move on? So just looking at our assessments. Staffing would be another big area. We're looking at certified as well as classified, and there is some additional funding, so looking at what positions can we add to support increased learning, but keeping in mind that it's not money we'll get forever. Our pacing guides, we're looking at our pacing guides and making some adjustments, not only just looking at this year and how we're ending the year with the fourth quarter and which standards we might need to recycle back in, but as we continue to get our data, looking at next year, if we need to make some adjustments to our pacing guide. But again, being careful, it is not our intention to just repeat the prior grade. Our kids did get school this year. They might have missed some things and have a few gaps that we need to fill, but we aren't going to start third grade reteaching second grade. So we're working on it. And of course, professional development ties it all together. So this is an opportunity to do some higher level PD, some PD at a larger scale than we've been able to do before. And so we're really looking at where we need to do. So to kind of put all that together, we're just really, this committee is really working on analyzing the data, looking at the budget, creating some timelines and some priorities, and what we've done is created some subcommittees. And so I won't read all these to you, but it's really the areas that I just talked about. So we have some subcommittees within our committee that are really doing the work to generate some ideas and research some possibilities. One example would be the Extended Learning Subcommittee, which has already done some work to create summer school. So summer school, as you know, we've had summer school every year. Typically our summer school is just, it's at one school for the whole district, and we serve second and third grade readers, struggling readers. We usually hire about 14, 15 teachers, and that's what we've been able to do. But knowing that we have some additional funding and some additional need, we're really expanding summer school this year. So we're increasing it to 5 weeks instead of 4, and we're also increasing the days. So normally, our kids are in class about 3.5 hours. So this summer, they'll be in class about 5 hours. They'll actually have lunch and go back to class for some more. So they'll kind of be like, what? This is summer. We're also supporting more grade levels. So rather than just targeting second and third, we're expecting to be able to do 2nd through 7th grade. We're also looking at ELA and math. So not just reading, but we've got plenty of time with them there for 5 hours. So we're going to do some targeted reading support, some math, and then also social emotional. We know that our kids have some social emotional learning needs, so that will be woven in there as well. And the great news is instead of it being localized or centralized at one school, it will be at every school. So we're pretty excited to offer summer school at all of our campuses. The only exception to that would be Trailside because they're having some roof work done. So they'll be with the Striped Lighthouse. But that's 8 schools that are having summer school rather than one. And we're looking at hiring about 60 teachers to do that. And so I was a little nervous, can we find 60 teachers to do that? Because usually when we post and we hire for 14, we get about 15 applicants, you know. So I mean, so 60 is a lot. And it actually could be a little more. The schools have some Title I funding, so some of them are looking at even adding some more. But the principals have been kind of talking with teachers and getting a feel, and there is a commitment and some interest in doing that. So we're pretty excited about that opportunity. So that's kind of the learning recovery in a nutshell. Any questions on that?
Just one quick question. How will the students be determined or selected for that program for the summer?
We are looking at our data right now, so we did, because we're doing it at each school, we did give up a little district control to let the schools look at their data and pick their students. And so each school is given 6 teachers by the district pot, and then if they have extra, then we add some more. So depending on how many teachers they have and where their data is showing the greatest need, they're inviting students.
Okay, thank you.
Any others? All right. So my last update is just state assessments. I mean, that's something we do every year, except last year. It was the first year in my career, 31 years, that we didn't give a state assessment. But the government said, yeah, that was it. You're giving it this year. So our state assessment is coming up in April and May. And so just to give you a quick update on that, it's called AZM2. It really is the AZ Merit Test, but they renamed it. This is the last year though of AZ Merit. So our students in 3rd through 8th grade will take ELA and math. And then there's also a field test in science that our 5th and 8th graders will take. So as I said, this is the last year they'll take AZ Merit. The state is looking at a new test after this. But it is our last chance to kind of give the test that we've given before so that when we get results, we have an idea if it's close to what it was last time, or and how we compare to other schools across the state. So I'll be excited to see that. Maybe. I'll tell you.
Yes.
So there is no science test, but there is the science field test as we're transitioning to a new science test for the state. They are telling us that we won't get results from that. It's just there is field testing some items. It's a fairly short test, but it is important we participate in that. But one of the big things that the state did is they extended the window. So they know that we have not only students in the building, but we have all these students that are at home, and we are supposed to try to test them, and it does have to be in person. So they have extended the window so that we have a longer time frame to do that. So I'll share that in just a second. The state has said that they're not going to give us a letter grade, so although we're getting the state assessment, we won't be held accountable for getting a letter grade A, B, C from how we did. Although, even though they don't give us a letter grade, we will release our scores with everybody, so we'll be judged one way or another. So the schedule is really spread out. So we've chosen to do one grade level at a time. So we're taking full advantage of this extended window. 3rd grade has to go first because by statute we have to get 3rd grade scores in a timely manner. But once we get past 3rd grade, we're really just doing one grade at a time, all the way starting April 14th and going to May 4th. And so by doing that, whenever we involve our distance learners, there's only, like if it's 4th grade's day, it's only 4th grade that we're asking to come in. And so, for example, if a school has 55% of their kids already there, and there's another 45% at home, we're only talking about 30 kids, 40, it just depends on the grade. So that's the number that we'd be inviting in that day. And so we would have them come just one day, have one secure place where they go and sit. They're not really mixing with the rest of the school. We would have the desk spread out with social distancing and everything sanitized and all that stuff. And we're doing a staggered start. So for example, if it's a 7:30 school day, the distance learners would be asked to come in at 8:30. So they kind of miss all the, everybody's arriving at the same time. And so they can just come at 8:30, go straight to their little testing location. We'll give them a breakfast to go, grab-and-go breakfast. They can do their assessment. They'll pretty much stay where their spot is, have lunch, have some little activities to do at their desk, and then they'll be dismissed as well before the school day ends. So we are working on transportation for the kids that need it. We don't expect that to be a lot, but we are trying to work that in if the student needs it. And that's kind of our plan. So we're working on a notification for parents. I just read the draft letter today. It's got a lot of information for parents who are distance learners, just telling them that the state is asking that everyone test and that they come in, and we're going over all the mitigation strategies and the safety and the steps. So I can't make them come in, but I hope that they do, just because it will help. We could use one good authentic measure of how our kids Are there any questions?
Any questions?
I actually have a question. So the schedule has an ending at 1 o'clock. So what if those kids aren't finished with the test?
They'll stay. So as you know,
Yes.
BZM2 is not a time test, so the state gives us an estimate of how long it should take, and we padded that with even more time. But there are some kids that take even longer. So they don't have to leave if they're not done in the state. And then I'm assuming that the ones whose parents bring them, we will take their little phones when they come in, because that's part of test security, but we will give them back to call their parent to come pick them up if they're finished. So we're thinking about all these things.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Davis. I'm glad we didn't skip that either. That was good stuff. Thank you. Now we'll get to the really good stuff. Audit results. Mr. Haggerty, come on up.
We always see the most riveting report.
That is right.
Madam President, members of the board, fellow employees and our guests, it's always a pleasure to talk about our audit report for several reasons. First of all, is because we typically get a pretty good one, and this year was no exception. This is from 2020. The independent audit firm of Blue Goldrich came through and did their work and gave us what is called an unmodified opinion on all of our work, which basically is the highest one they can give. We had no findings, and we are a low risk auditee. All those things really help us when we start even talking about bonds and things like that. So really enjoy having this team coming in. Nicole will be crafted from that firm is here tonight. If there's any other questions that people have of the firm, but it is good to be able to present this stuff. You have in your packet the actual single audit, which is also very riveting when you go through that. But we also have the comprehensive annual financial report, and it's glory of about 140 pages, which if you really want it, I'll send it to you electronically. But that has been posted at the federal websites. So with that, I will stand for any questions, and like I said, Ms. Craft is here also.
Any questions? No? I thank you. I thank your team for your work. This is really, we joke, but it's a very important part of the district. Kevin, you and I know that there have been districts that have gone into receivership. You can go to receivership for instructional reasons, you can go into receivership for financial reasons, and that's when somebody comes and takes over your district for one of those reasons. And it's never happened for an instructional reason, but it's happened about a dozen times for financial reasons. And I think that it's so critical to have somebody in your position who knows what they're doing, along with Anita and your entire staff, because it is critical. It's critical for things like bonds and getting good rating and good interest rates for our community. So I really do appreciate your hard work.
Well, thank you for that. And again, be remiss if I didn't mention Anita also, because she coordinates all this activity, and she goes crazy for a period of time, but it's worth it.
Yes, it's worth it. Thank you. Okay. We did do the consent agenda, though. Thank you. And we are now going to move on to some of our action items. We have a new and modified employee positions.
Oh, you have a call to the public.
There are no call to the publics for agenda items, right? It's for non-agenda items. Thank you, though, for making sure. New and modified employee positions, job descriptions, and salaries. Any discussion?
I do.
Yeah, go for it.
Just two things. On the executive, they're both housekeeping items, I think. On executive assistant, technological skills, it says transportation and other appropriate transportation technology software, and I don't believe transportation belongs in there. Do you see that? Do you know where that is? Anybody? Care?
No, we do. I don't have the job description in front of me. Thank you.
And payroll supervisor, additionally another housekeeping one, under language skills, it says prefer ability to converse in Spanish. Do we want it to say bilingual instead? Everything else.
Well, I think you could be bilingual in multiple languages.
Yes,
I think we want Spanish.
But this is only asking for Spanish, not English. I looked.
Oh, I see what you're saying, implying we also need somebody who speaks English.
Yes.
Okay. No, you're not HR anymore. You hand it to that man.
And that was it. Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Okay, any other discussion on that agenda item? Do I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We have a,
Well, then, I'm looking at what.
with the updates to those. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have the revised stipend schedule for fiscal year 21. Any discussion? Have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The extension of the COVID-19 paid sick leave benefit. Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Motion and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And then the construction manager at risk for construction of preschool classrooms and offices at Desert Meadows. Any discussion? I believe, is it Chase Building Team is the top selection for that? Yes? We've had the opportunity to work with lots of great construction managers over the years. I really do appreciate the work that Chase Building Team does. I know Mr. Robert Dilzer is listening, so I want to say hello. Thank you for sticking through the board meeting, sir. And I know that our Robert Jacobson, works very well with Chase along with all of them. So look forward to seeing those buildings coming up. So do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Motion and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Any comments from the board this evening?
I've made all of mine. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Dr. Wicken? Good?
Well, it's just exciting to see everybody back. I know a lot of parents are happy about that. So thank you for jumping back in this week and enjoy your spring break and come back ready to do a bunch of state testing.
That's a great comeback. Come back and test for the next 4,700 weeks. Yeah, thank you guys all for your hard work. I feel like there's sort of an end in sight here, and things are becoming a little bit more normal, and we're also getting used to what our new normal is and kind of the combination of those. So thank you guys for sticking with things on us. Okay, we have some call to the public regarding some non-agenda items. We have about 19, so here we go. First one is from an I-9 sports parent. Hold on, let me read this. Although they aren't technically here, I do want to still read the admonishment here. Call to the public is on the regular board agenda items to provide everyone the opportunity to be heard. The governing board understands the importance of communication with the public and welcomes and values your comments, concerns, input, and praise. The governing board cannot comment or answer issues brought up by call to the public because only items listed on the agenda for discussion or action may be addressed. This does not mean that your comments will be forgotten or that the board does not care what you think. The governing board president will discuss them with the superintendent, and every effort will be made to answer your questions and or resolve your concerns. Thank you for caring about the children of the Levine Elementary School District and taking the time out of your busy schedule to address the governing board. First one from a 9-9 sports parent. My family has been waiting to start their sports program with I-9 Sports, and they have been let down many of times due to the fact the school board will not open up location. I am a single parent and can't afford to drive to the other locations that are 30 to 40 minutes out of my area for my girls to attend the sports program. I think with proper guidelines of COVID, I am sure we all will I think it's a new sentence. Why do our children have to be the ones being disappointed? My girls have been waiting since October 2020 to start this. Has really put an impact on their physical skills, and they feel out of shape in place and with what to do with their selves. Please listen to all your teammates, parents, and the I-9 team. Next one from Brianna Sims. By opening youth sports, it gives my 3-year-old daughter the opportunity to get outside again and play, while also working on our listening skills and cheerleading. Another youth sports at Paseo Point parent. I don't understand the holdup when all the other locations and districts have reopened. Our youth sports matter to my family, and keeping them active in these times is also a must. They already are at home now full time, and most kids have not even had the opportunity to play sports with others, like my 7-year-old. He needs to experience this at least once in his childhood. I do not want to drive to another far location for this when we have the one right here in our district, which has been following all the COVID-19 safety measures. Kristen Vogel, we have been searching for sports for my son that is close to home and works with our schedule. Our previous soccer team was bought out and relocated. Recently, I had to take my son to see a doctor regarding his behavior and was instructed to get him back into sports for his mental health. Having a team he can play on in our area with friends he knows will help his and the morale of many others in the community come together and feel a sense of normalcy for the children. Reopening of fields would mean so much to our family and many others hoping to get their kids out and active with peers again, in a safe way, obviously, considering we're still dealing with the pandemic. Sally Ruiz, please consider reopening youth sports. My 9-year-old son has had a rough year. He says he wishes he had friends. He has been completing school virtually. He has been looking forward to joining flag football and cannot wait to socialize. My 3-year-old will also be joining cheer and says I can finally see other kids. Social development is so important for these kids. Please consider reopening as this is the only opportunity to socialize for some of the kids. Thank you. Another I-9 sports parents, please allow sports from I-9 to partake at Paseo Elementary in Levine. From Gerardo Barajas, Levine kids are hoping for the official word to reopen the youth sports again. From Olinda Miraz, please reopening the Paseo Point fields. Kids need to be active. This parent did not include their name. Sports and the values learned are important to our family living in Levine. We have taken enough time from our children, and it's time for us to reverse the social damage that has been caused, although necessary for our children. There have been many proven methods, such as implementing face masks for spectators, monitoring participants for symptoms, and social distancing that can still happen while still allowing our children to enjoy socialization and importance of activity that sports bring to our youth. Please allow the reopening of the use of the school fields for properly monitored sporting activities. Thanks. Angela Francois, we trust I-9 with the safety of our children. When doing sport activities, this has been pushed back for months. Understandably, I am asking you to allow I-9 to reopen for our children's healthy interactions and mental stability. Our kids have suffered enough. Please allow them to reopen in March. I even voted for the budget override. These are outdoor and confident they will have safety measures in place. Please consider. Praying hands. Parents of children enrolled in Levine District. I'm a parent of a student at Desert Meadows who is also enrolled in I-9 sports. We haven't been able to start our football season because of the school's closure to the field. Continue to close it only makes the situation more stressful on us as parents, as well as our small children who don't necessarily understand the situation. Allowing us to resume sports on the field will allow our children some much-needed interaction and time outdoors. With this being our new normal, we need to be proactive in resuming life for our children in an adequate manner while still implementing COVID precautions. Toby Brown, my family and I would like the governing board to approve the immediate reopening of the fields at Paseo Point Elementary. Sports is a very important activity in the development of children. I believe it is important now as we have significantly restricted the interactions of our child with others because of the pandemic. It seems many sports programs have done well to implement COVID-19 protocols during their activities, so I believe it is time to open the fields up. It would also greatly ease our life because if the school's fields remain closed, we will then have to travel outside Levine for our children to participate in the sport we have planned for her. Thank you for hearing my concern. From D. Lowe, sports are an important part of kids' lives and they need some normalcy. They've been through enough with this pandemic. This has gone on longer than needed. Kids need to socialize and engage. Sports teach children without a computer. Another from I-9 Sports. Our family believes that letting our children play sports is important in our children's development, especially during this time when our children are doing online classes and are stuck at home due to COVID. The sports are playing outdoors and there is a possibility of social distancing. I hope you will consider letting I-9 Sports use Paseo Point Elementary so our children can at least be able to be part of a sport in this time when they mostly spend their time inside the house. Armando Guzman, his comment is, it's time. Gerardo Barajas, this comment is different. We want our kids to keep playing the sports. Brittany Dizdar, this means everything to my kids and the location is very convenient. Please do not let them down. They have really been hurt by this pandemic and you have an opportunity to make a difference. We can get through this if we all work together, but we cannot hide from it or make it someone else's problem. Please vote for the children. From I-9 Sports, we need I-9 Sports to continue to bring a healthy and active program to our students and families in our community. Please allow this to happen. Thank you. From Marisol Figueroa, it is very important that we open the park for the benefit of our families. Sports are very important for children and it helps them socially, mentally, and helps with their citizen skills and teaches them to be leaders. Thank you to our community for those comments. Our next governing board meeting is on April 1st, 2021, right here at 5:30. And we need a motion to enter into executive session, please.
Motion. Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Good night, everybody else, or you can stay if you want your bedtime story. Stay. At one
Motion carries. Good night. Oh, sorry, yep, resumption of regular meeting. Motion to, and we got to adjourn the regular meeting, guys? Do I have a?
Hold on.
Oh, but someone flipped it on.
Okay.
Ready? You good? Okay. I need a motion to adjourn the executive session, please.
And motion to adjourn the executive session.
Second. Motion seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are resuming the regular board meeting, and now I need a motion to adjourn the regular board meeting, please.
Motion or second.
Been motioned and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. See you in April. No, see you in